Hello everybody, my name is Amanda N, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about how ghosts are faked in photos, whether that's old film photography or more modern digital cameras. We'll start with older pictures. You might think that it's more difficult to fake ghosts since this is in the days before Photoshop, but it's honestly really simple. Stereoscopic and double exposure was exploited for profit in the 1800s. Amateur photographer William Mumler became especially known for this. According to the BBC, one of the ways that Mumler seems to have achieved this was by inserting a previously prepared glass plate into the camera in front of an unused glass plate used to photograph his client. This is the double exposure technique, and back in the mid-1800s, people were stunned and stupefied by it. After all, the image hadn't been doctored, it was just another way of messing with the camera itself. P.T. Barnum, of all people, was one of Mumler's biggest critics, saying that it preyed upon people whose judgment was clouded by grief. You know, taking photos of someone and their loved one might happen to be in the background, when in actuality it was a smudge, it was somebody else maybe, it was another photo of them doctored into that one. One of these people that Mumler preyed upon was actually Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary. It got so ridiculous that Mumler was put on trial for fraud, and Barnum proved how easy it was to fake these ghostly photographs on trial. Despite all of the evidence against him, Mumler was eventually acquitted, which I'm going to say is pretty unfortunate, because people did seem to recognize how easy it was to fake these ghostly photographs, but I digress, no justice. His techniques lasted for years to come. Some especially famous spirit photographs emerged in the 1890s, featuring faint outlines of humans in libraries, cemeteries, and things of that nature, also using that double exposure technique. One such photo was the Brown Lady in 1936, a photo of a supposed apparition that had been haunting the hall since the 1700s. However, the Society for Psychical Research in 1937 claimed that a camera had actually been shaken during the 6-second exposure of Raynham Hall. Decades later, a researcher determined that the camera leaked light onto the photographic plate, and the Brown Lady, if she exists, was not captured on film in 1936. These same techniques have been used all the way up into the 1990s. A man named Tony O'Reilly took a photo of a burning building, and a little girl, who looked like she was among the flames, was standing there, eerily staring back into the camera. The photo became incredibly famous, and an expert even corroborated its authenticity. It seemed really hard to prove wrong. However, in 2010, someone from the same town found a striking, perhaps even uncanny resemblance of that little girl in a local postcard where she was standing on the sidewalk. So, seems like double exposure may have been common in the 1800s and all the way up until the 1990s, because from what we can tell, double exposure may have played a role here as well. It seems like he scammed the best of people and even a potential expert. Whether old photos are new, one of the best ways to know for sure if a photo is faked is going to be based on lighting. That is so much harder to fake from everything that I've seen. So, faked images of Hurricane Sandy made the rounds in 2012, and BBC Future published guides on how to tell them apart. So if you trace a line from a shadow back to a light source, you can tell if something has been added to a photo. For example, even in the best of ghost photos, the lighting method can be used to tell what's fake and what's real. One source talks about the falling body image, another very famous ghost photo. It reads as follows. Perhaps the photo on the list with the most mysterious past, this family photo popped up on the internet around 2009. The original photograph seems to have been published by itself, but over time, a story has surfaced about the origins of the photo. Apparently, the Cooper family in Texas moved into a new home sometime in the 1950s. The Cooper family patriarch snapped a photo of his wife, his mother, and his 2 sons. They developed the photo, and the rest is spooky history. How they did it. To date, an official confession or explanation has never been offered. However, experts examining the photo point out that the shadows of the body do not match the shadows in the room. They also point to the fact that the corners of the photo contain vignetting, a darkening of a photo that occurred on older cameras, but vignetting appears to be too symmetrical to be true to the photo. Therefore, experts believe the photograph to be the result of some trickery Photoshop skills, or perhaps a double exposure, to say the very least. There's other famous ghost photos too that are easily explained away as being a straight-up lie. The famous photo of the Goddard Squadron, for example, if you take a look at it, you'll see a sort of shadowy face to the side, where someone, say a member of this squadron, died and was spotted in a photo taken not long afterwards. Yet the person that has this ghostly face, well, there's no proof that they even existed at all. There is someone that goes by the same name of the person that died in this squadron, but they died on a different date, they were part of a different team. It doesn't really add up. This may be a weird image, but experts believe this is just a photographic error. Nowadays, smartphones take photos in stages, kind of like a scanner moving over paper, and they move especially slow in dark places. Anything that moves through the shot can be distorted, hence if you take a photo in the dark and there's even the slightest bit of movement, yeah, your photo might appear stranger and creepier than it actually is. One specific technique is detailed in Psychology Today, and it was used by modern ghost hunters for quite some time. You can set a scene and then be absolutely still, then grab a bright flashlight and have the room be completely pitch black. Then turn the shutter of a camera on and voila, you can use a flashlight like a brush or a pen. There's instructions on how to do this online. It's really not that hard to do, so it's not as if even modern photography is absolutely perfect or ghost fake proof, I guess we could say. Of course, there's Photoshop, digital editing photos, and the obvious stuff, which can sometimes be harder to know when they're implemented if done extremely well. I will say that photographic experts aren't always going to be the best to rely on, simply because even they can make mistakes. And even the really old photos, who knows, it can be very hard to tell if things are faked. But generally speaking, I think that if there is a ghost photo out there where we can prove that no double exposure whatsoever has been used, I'd be interested to see it. But for now, unfortunately, all these old spooky ghost photos that you see, they can still be photoshopped. They can still be used. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's real. So with that said, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!